Okay, looks like I am live. This is a document I'm creating for some Mordheim story campaign rules. My goals are to have a really super simple set of story campaign rules that don't require too much additional bookkeeping. In fact, hardly any at all, ideally. Um, so, a lot of the campaign for tabletop war games rules that exist often have, lots of complicated tracking that needs to happen, whether that's campaign points or goods or various long-term things. So that's not what I'm going for. Those have been created very well by the people in like the Bordertown Burning supplement, for example. Very good stuff, but it's not what is ideal for my group of people who I play this game with. We need something a little simpler, and I think I want something, because I love story, something that is a little more story focused rather than adding a sort of a larger strategy aspect. So what I'm doing here, and I guess my subtitle here, make losing fun. So Mordheim is a game where losing is already quite fun, much more so than most games. The sun's coming out just in time to set. It's been raining all day. Mordheim is a game where losing is already a lot of fun, but it is possible to have such severe losses that you kind of want to give up on your warband. Or the story doesn't quite gel or whatever. It doesn't really turn into something that feels like a story. So my goal is to make something that makes it feel, that really helps like a story be generated, and that makes losing even more fun in Mordheim than it already. It's like losing in Mordheim is like okay, and it can be awesome actually, because you're really enabled to fail forward, which I love. You get your XP and your gold, and even when you lose a battle, if you weren't too brutalized, you usually make progress even when you lose. I mean, really, winning the battle doesn't have all that. Normally doesn't have all of that huge of an effect. It's not that huge of an advantage. So it's not like if you lose, you're screwed. But you can have guys get injured and whatnot. So that's actually what I'm dealing with here. I've got a few different charts set up so far. One for battles won and battles lost, one for actions during the battle, and one for injuries and deaths. And I'll just run through them really quick. So basically, your group of guys in Mordheim is called a warband. I think this is going to apply to many or most leagues of tabletop war games. But in Mordheim, it's called your warband. And I am adding two elements here with this design, where your warband can develop a nemesis warband and a rival warband. And here's what that means. So nemesis is your warband's enemy that has defeated you at least 2 battles in a row. And you get to hate members of warbands or nemesis. Now, hate in this game is a quality that lets you reroll misses. But you have to charge an enemy that you hate anytime you have the opportunity to do so. So it's a two-edged thing, but mostly I would say more of an advantage than a disadvantage. So you are incentivized to name someone your nemesis, And I think that's an automatic story generating thing. It's like, oh, I can never beat this warband. I lost to them at least 2 battles in a row. Declare them your nemesis, and boom, there's a story element there. That one's pretty simple. Rival. After 1 win and 1 loss against a particular warband with one of your warbands, you may declare that warband your warband's rival. So it's certainly possible that someone could be a nemesis or a rival and then turn into the other when you make that decision. Taking a unit in a rival warband out of action, that should be italicized because that's a game term, yields +1 experience to your heroes. So normally in this game, you get experience for taking an enemy out of action to your hero units. That will give them +1 experience. So it's pretty straightforward, but I think there's a ton of story potential when you have a nemesis and a rival warband. I think that's going to help people feel that they are part of the league. And, you know, getting deep into creating a story for these characters without having to be overly creative or, you know, have to do too much work themselves. It's just like kind of naming the thing that it is. It's like making a story happen just naturally, which is what I love about all these kinds of games. Then I have losing streak. So that is mainly because as some people who play this game are not particularly lucky or good at it, and sometimes they're both unlucky and bad at tactics, but they still want to play. I think it would be a good idea to, or if a warband is just woefully weak. I don't know if you can hear my kid in the background. She's having a moment. If your warband is just woefully weak, but you don't want to get rid of them, then I've created the go big or go home rule. Now, actually, so it makes it so you don't run away. And then you get a big fat treasure reward. Roll double your allotted dice in the exploration phase. That is intentionally a huge reward. If a warband is really powerful, is really strong, and just happened to lose 3 in a row, that's going to be a really enormous boost. So in that particular instance, it could actually cause a problem potentially, but I'm not too worried about it. After making your purchases, your warband's rating must go up by at least plus 25 points or it is summarily disbanded. What I like about that is I think that fits a go big or go home and a thing to do in response to a losing streak. It's like, you know what? I'm either going to get a huge boost or that's going to be it. And importantly, I didn't put anything in here about winning that battle. You can still, because your warband, might be, maybe you've lost some guys, maybe you've got some bad injuries on your guys, or maybe just a bunch of them are like out of action or whatever. For various reasons that can happen. But it's like it's more than a consolation prize. I mean, the idea is to give people in the back a big boost. People who are falling behind in the race to power. Disband the warband. What if they are barred from playing? Are they permabanned? Ha! Thank you, man, with no screen name. Thanks for coming by and hanging out. I thought you might be here. I appreciate it as always very much. And then since I had a losing streak one, I thought a winning streak concept might be good, especially since a good element to have in any game is a headwind, which means that the more you are winning, the harder it gets for you. But I also wanted to, well, this isn't really a headwind. you know, I thought about doing something like that. The problem is that I don't want to disincentivize winning too much. But I also want to make it not that the guy in the lead always just keeps winning and getting more and more bonuses, which is what a lot of campaign designs do for tabletop war games. This is one of the few channels I can stream at work, so it makes my weekend shifts go quicker. I'm very curious, man, with no screen name. What are the other channels doing that you can't stream them at work? Is it just that they're more visual than mine? And if you don't have time to respond, that's okay. Anyway, so my idea was the winning streak. You can go for the big one, so you can get a potential reward, but your opponent has all the advantages in terms of who's likely to get that reward. So in theory, at least, if you get this winning streak and you decide to try for it, you might get a big boost, but you're also potentially handing the runner-up warband a big boost. So that's what I've got so far for Battles Won and Battles Lost. And if I come up with more, I'll add more. Oh, right. This is actually the most fun thing. I forgot to mention this. So I need to add some text here, actually. So one thing I want to do is I want to add more fan-made scenarios into the mix, just because there's some fun ones out there, and not just the official ones. So there's this one called a grudge match where it's like a 1v1 battle, and then the rest of the warband might get pissed off and joined in. So a rivals grudge match. After a battle where both warbands consider the other rivals. So the wording of that is intended to communicate that this could happen either for two newly declared rivals, or if they were already rivals. The warbands may agree to play a grudge match as their next scenario together. And then that's the link to the grudge match rules, which look like a lot of fun. Losing streak. Oh, I already went over this. All right. So anyway, I thought that was really cool. That you could have a rivals grudge match, a special scenario you play if your warbands consider one another rivals. I think that again is going to add to this story. It's like, oh, we've won, we lost, we called each other rivals, and then we had a rivals grudge match. It kind of starts generating these story elements all by itself. And it's non-specific. I mean, it can work with any two warbands. That's important. That was one of the things. That's one of the challenges, is that in a game like this, in a tabletop war game where there are so many different kinds of styles of armies, you can have your undead, or you can have your noble nuns with slings, or you can have your beastmen or your elves, like all these different things, all these different warbands. It'd be hard, I think, to create like a story that feels right for each of them. So instead, go with the old classic GW thing of make it random, and in the randomness, a story will emerge. But I also wanted to help that along without being too specific. So, actions during battle. This is a short list. I've got to add a lot more of these. Slay with poison. There's an assassin character who you can hire if you kill an enemy with poison. That was my idea there. Leader versus leader. If your leader fights another leader, I wanted to kind of support that automatic story. So it's like, okay, you can declare them rival. I don't really have an idea for like what if you're already rivals and there's a leader versus leader battle. Does that do something extra specially interesting? That would be that would be pretty fun. Um, I wonder if I can come up with something like that. So if your warband is already rivals with that warband, then what? I don't know what else I can add. Nope.
Hello. I don't know who you're talking to.
Oh, I'm streaming.
Oh, well, this is a little gift for your streamers.
Okay.
So, Rosie came in, crying, very realistic tears. I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "I'm so sad." I tried to get her to tell me what was wrong and she couldn't. And I said, "Well, what can I do to make you feel better?" She goes, "Can I have an ice cream?" I say, "Okay, sweetie, you ate a lot of cereal."
Oh, I see it worked.
And as soon as I give her the ice cream sandwich, she starts giggling and singing "Yo Ho, a Pirate's Life" for me.
Are you an ice cream pirate?
Not ice cream pirate. It's an ice cream sandwich.
Oh, it's an ice cream sandwich for an ice cream pirate.
No. I'm talking.
Wow. So our little 2-year-old successfully got ice cream by crying her crocodile tears. And then saying, "Yo ho, a pirate's life for me."
All right.
Pretty clever.
All right, Munchkin. I'm chopping up vegetables for dinner, so I'll come get her whenever.
Okay. I just don't want her to smear ice cream everywhere.
Okay. Oh, thank you for sharing.
Can you yes?
Oh, you want me to eat more ice cream sandwich? Mmm. This is the ice cream sandwich stream now.
I'm not playing right now. I'm not playing right now.
So if during the battle, I'm not making too much during the battle changes here because I figure these charts will apply best after a battle rather than something you have to look up during the game and slow it down. Is it yummy? I mean, you can't get any more rivals than rivals. I don't think, I don't want to do any kind of nemesis thing.
Rosie, want to come help?
Roar! Are you roaring?
I'm not.
You're not roaring? Well, okay. If you say so.
Say yes, sir. Say yes, sir. Say yes, sir.
See you later. If your warband is already rivals, I mean, I could give your leader a +1 XP. No. What if the leaders are going to try to steal stuff from each other? Man with no screen name. I tend to scrutinize art streamers to pick up their techniques and advice, which is a bit of a hassle when I have to deal with the hassles that walk into the store. Having a stream where everyone's gaming or doing prep work is good entertainment and background noise that lets me handle customers at the same time. That and your channel usually shies away from politics better than most, which, considering my area, is a good thing. Yikes. Yeah, I shy away from politics. For the most part. I think my politics are pretty clear. So why discuss it? Unless it's relevant. I rarely think I'm cogent or put together enough to discuss politics. Should there be some kind of consequence? Nah. The one thing I really want to figure out is I want to. There's a scenario where there's a bar brawl that's like not very lethal. I love that idea, and I want to somehow get that in here. This chart, the actions during battle list, I want to expand quite a bit. But I got distracted because first I did the battles won and battles lost, which is, I think, some important yet basic stuff. And the injuries and deaths, though, I realized was really important. So I'm going to skip the rest of the actions during battle chart for the moment and look at the injuries and deaths chart. Lost leader. After a battle in which your warband's leader perished, you may declare your warband's next battle to be a rescue scenario. Your warband's next battle must be against a warband of equal or higher rating. It does not have to be against the warband that killed the leader. They may have been soul barred around, etc. So this was actually one of the core inspiration ideas. Oh, did it stop playing the... Oh, it is. Okay. This was one of the core inspirational ideas, actually, that caused me to want to make this story campaign rule set. Is that in this particular game, right? Your warband has a leader. I think this would be applicable to any tabletop war game, really. But not just ones with leaders. But, you know, if you lose your leader in this game, you're kind of screwed because you can't replace them. You know, normally if you lose your leader, that probably means you're going to end up quitting on the whole warband, unless they are super leveled up, which this whole thing is like, well, we never really get that far. I mean, the game rewards those who play hundreds of battles, you know. You just play Mordheim for a year. That's like your only board game. But that's just not the reality we're living in. So, anyway, point is, losing your leader sucks, and it's much more interesting story-wise to have this last chance to rescue them. Inspired by a YouTube video, I highly recommend Guerrilla Miniature Games. He's got great stuff. And then I also found this scenario where there's a rescue scenario. It actually works either for dude or for stuff, which is interesting. So I'm thinking about using it in case you lose some valuable stuff as well. So I did something similar with the hero. Well, I didn't do something similar, really. Lost Hero, I thought it would be cool if you could have your next hero that you replace the dead hero with. They are seeking revenge. I thought that was interesting. And I actually added this thing there where they not only hate the members of the warband that killed the original hero, which I think is more interesting than hating the specific person. I don't know. I could certainly copy the rules from injuries, and so there is a rule already in here where you can generate better enmity with somebody that injured your guy. I could copy that rule, actually. Or have a similar rule. But notice also you don't get to choose. This is the result of a dice, because the whole philosophy of this game is the randomness makes story. The randomness is going to make it better. You don't have to be creative at all, or be forced into making an interesting choice, or what you think the interesting choice is. It's going to be more interesting if it's random. Saving Private Ryan, the board game. Indeed. I should watch that movie. Very famous. We tend to shy away from too much depressing stuff these days. But now that a very good thing happened in the area of the topics that I usually shy away from, maybe we'll be more inclined. Lost henchman. After a battle in which one of your henchmen... Okay, right. So this is stuff. So is it the henchman's replacement cost? Actually, if the henchman's gear value exceeds 50 GC, you may choose to launch an attempt to... You may declare... This is more rules-based. Declare... you may launch a... You may choose to launch an attempt to retrieve gear. I mean, this only works for henchmen. Like, what if you have heroes? You're much more likely to put your expensive gear on your heroes, after all. Half my YouTube history is cat, dog, fluffy critter videos. I hear that in Man with No Screen Name. By the way, I am playing some music marked no copyright on YouTube right now, per your advice, which I greatly appreciate. I don't know if it's the one I would pick. It's called Oblivion. But it's not the same stuff I usually listen to, which is nice. I mean, I'm not even sure that I should put this down. Maybe we should cut this. I've definitely known a few people to have a quit point on the warband when they lose a really expensive henchman. And that, I don't know, that seems really... I mean, that seems really, I mean, the thing is that some of the warbands in Mordheim are designed differently, where there's like really expensive henchmen, and they're more valuable and better than some of the heroes. I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure whether to do anything for a lost henchman or not. I mean, henchmen are supposed to be lost. That's the general expectation. But the truth is that lots of warbands are designed with super expensive, valuable, powerful henchmen. Where if you lose one, you lose one too early. You're kind of incentivized to just quit and start over. But maybe that's just the nature of the game. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be trying to... Maybe I shouldn't be trying to resolve that too much. We're going to have to come back to that one. I'm just not sure what to do about it. Right, so there's all these severe injuries you can get. And a lot of them are very interesting, like the ones I showed you, right? Like bitter enmity, or a lot of the results you can get are very interesting. Some of them are a little frustrating, like, say, a leg wound Warrior's leg is broken, he suffers a -1 characteristic move penalty from now on. Now, what sucks about that one in particular is there is no way in the game to increase your movement characteristic. And if you're dwarves, as I've seen happen, and they happen to get a leg wound, dwarves are really slow to begin with. Really slow to begin with. They move 3 inches per movement. And now you're down to 2. And there's nothing in the game. There's no way to increase your movement. So I thought, actually, it would be fun story-wise if there was some not too enormous benefit or some way of dealing with these injuries that can cause a quit point on the warband, and just a not satisfying story for them. That's the problem. See, it's not the problem. The problem isn't that it's a quit point for the warband. It's that it's an unsatisfying end. It's an unsatisfying story element. And if we inject a little bit of story into it, that'll help. So my idea here is if you get these particular injuries that make you lose something, if you lose something that could be really important to you, like I thought it was kind of interesting that these things only become available to you if you get injured. So it's not that big of a bonus, but it's a potential way of dealing with it. I mean, I'm making these items as rare can be in this game, rare 12, and crazy expensive. But it's powerful, potentially. Maybe I'll make that 4+, since it's so expensive. Now, that would be pretty cool on a dude that doesn't have a super low movement. Like, maybe it's an elf who got -1 movement, and now he's got a silver leg. So elves normally move 5 inches in this game. If he goes down to 4 inches, it's not the end of the world, but now he can get a silver leg. And then he can actually move triple. It's pretty badass. But you kind of have to hope for that luck. Well, at least you can't plan for it, can you? So the arm wound actually... it says it gets amputated, so it actually inspired this originally. Actually, what inspired this originally, some viewers may recall a certain silver arm race in a game I worked on once upon a time. Not that this has anything to do with that, other than making me more aware of a very famous legend or myth, Gaelic myth. Right. So you must have do undo the effects of the injury and are able to hold 2 weapons again, etc. So that's already really good. Right? It's like you got this injury, but then you had the arm replaced with a rare 12 really expensive silver arm. So I shouldn't just give it a pure bonus, I think. Or one additional attack. The silver arm activates. Already 6. On a 1 to 3, make an additional attack. Strength 6. Against your opponent. On a 4 to 6, make the attack against yourself. These are resolved at weapon strength 6. Strength 6. That could be really interesting if the silver arm is attacking you. You're attacking yourself and it's parrying itself. That's great. I love that. I'm happy with this. The silver arm is a blessing and a curse. That could be hilarious. Oh, God. You could pour all this gold into a guy, and then he could kill himself. That seems highly appropriate. That seems highly appropriate to the City of Madness. Warhammer 4 Fantasy Roleplaying also has a curse that turns a random body part silver or gold, if I recall correctly. That sounds awesome, the Athos screen name. I've never had the pleasure to partake in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplaying. Okay, now I know what I want to do with the smashed leg, but the question is, how do we do it? Because the leg wound is a broken bone, I think? Yeah, the leg wound is warrior's leg is broken. Smashed leg. So this would only occur on a 1. May not run anymore, but he may still charge. You know what? Do we even need that? I mean, this is already so minor. He misses 1 game. And, I mean, he may not run anymore, but he may still charge. It's actually not that bad. You know what? We're gonna... Whoops. Wrong one. We are gonna cut that idea. We're gonna cut that. Ooh, wait, what if we did give him the leap skill instead of this? The leap skill is pretty cool. Let's see. The question is... So here's the leap skill. The warrior may leap d6 in the movement phase in addition to his normal movement. I mean, move and run and leap, or charge and leap, and leap once per turn. Oh, this is more fun, I think. Yeah, let's give him the leap skill instead. Let's do that. you already have the skill, we'll improve it somehow. Yeah, and sprinting is already like a thing. Should I make it so that you can leap more than once? No. What if we made it so that you can re-roll the leap? Yeah, I think that's more reasonable. It's probably not worth it then, but... Instead, the option to re-roll leap distance. Oh, hey, Ethan Hans. Thanks for coming by, my friend. Just doing a little design here. Little game design. I am cutting the smash leg one since, oops. I just don't think it's worth it. Chest wound. So, if you get a chest wound... Actually, why don't I just do this the easy way? Oh, right. It also means treasure chest. Oops, there we go. Badly wounded in the chest. He recovers to be weakened by the injury, so his toughness is reduced by -1. Yeah. The chest wound is nasty. But it's not the end of the world. But I think it'd be more interesting story-wise. Let's do an Iron Man thing. Let's if you get a chest wound, then you can get like an Iron Man ring installed. Let's see, did that work? Shall we call it the Adamant Heart? Diamond, like diamond. This should be super rare. Most magical stuff is not the sniper's eye patch. I'm making that rare 11. Be a little nicer for that one. Couldn't even tell you why, really. Mostly because it's not that powerful. Whereas Silver Leg and Silver Armor nuts. I don't know about Adamant Heart yet, because we're writing it right now. So this has a toughness thing, so it should be some way of dealing with your warrior's newfound lower toughness, which you're going to feel sad about. Hey, Screenam, how's the map going you wanted to show me? Well, I finished one of the maps, which has now been playtested in 2 games. One of which might still be in the recordings on here, not sure. Yeah, so that one where you gave the suggestion for the warehouse, that was really helpful. That turn has been playtesting really, really well. So far, so good. Anyway, in 2 battles, it's perfect. The warehouse hasn't been used, but you know that's how it goes. Somewhat as expected, you know, the battles end up in the middle of the map. I may to think about making. I may think about making a map where like the middle is just not occupiable, and I feel like that will make it so that if you just can't go into the middle of the map, the benefit of that is you're going to use a lot more of the map. And the map is going to be a lot different because you could be on one of like four sides of like a square shaped map, right? So if you can't really go in the middle, then the map suddenly becomes a lot more versatile because you're actually going to use the sides for more than what can I run through and take up a sniper position in order to affect the middle. So I don't know. But the map that I designed, the Crowded Slums map, my third map design, going really well. I love it. Maybe a bit more rubble in the middle that you can use, but it's difficult. Yeah, the truth is that I think that if there's rubble in the middle, the thing about the middle is it's always like the thing about the middle of the map is it's always the shortest distance for the two opposing forces to meet, no matter where they start. Right? If they start on opposite sides. So the middle always ends up being, the question is it the middle of the map, the dead center? So even if you put rubble there, it just means that, well, now like their experience of the map is going to be frustration because they're always going to be fighting on rubble. The Adamant Heart. What can the Adamant Heart do? Should it give you an armor save? It could give you a save, a magical armor save. So if you get wounded, because the chest wound lowers your toughness, which makes it easier for you to get wounded, right? So it would be nice if it had some way of, dealing with that a little bit. Could the Adamant Heart potentially heal you? Who wants to deal with tracking that? I mean, it's not all that interesting. How a design where the middle is collapsed in the sewer. Yeah, I mean I could do something like that in so there's the big multi-level map that I started working on. I kind of lost my juice on that one. I lost the momentum because I don't know. I started designing it and I put a sewer down at the bottom and then I started designing, doing the street level, and it just, I don't know. I guess it doesn't feel like something that's like all that necessary, whereas this does. So I'm making story campaign rules. So for a few different reasons, mainly because to me, the great thing about Mordheim is that it's fun to lose and that randomness generates story. Now, I want to strengthen those two qualities of this game. And I think that this stuff will work for any tabletop war game. That's pretty applicable. I mean, obviously these specific things aren't, but I think all of the thinking and design principles will work for any tabletop war game where you have a league. The plan is that it's dead simple. It's super simple. There's no complicated tracking of various strategical elements to make the campaign work. It's just going to naturally kind of just be an extra thing to check after a battle, and that's it. And then you get like a fun little story thing or whatever. And nothing that helps the guy on top, the guy winning all the battles, over much. And also just has a short tail instead of a long tail. so that it's easy to get into this interesting story bits of this campaign, into the interesting story bits right away, rather than through a lengthy campaign. So one of the things that I've already created is that your warband can end up having a nemesis and a rival within the league. So after losing 2 battles in a row, you can declare that warband your warband's nemesis. Rival, you can declare them a rival, right? And it gives you like a little interesting bonus to in the way that you deal with them. I'm really proud of this. The Rivals Grudge Match. After a battle where both warbands consider the other rivals, the warbands may agree to play a grudge match. So it's like the grudge match is where there's like a 1v1 battle, and the rest of the warbands are like really pissed off and might join in at any time. So it's a really fun fan-made scenario that I'm putting into the mix here. But I think that's going to instantly generate story. It's like, okay, I won a battle, I lost a battle, I lost a couple battles, I'm on a losing streak or a winning streak, and you see these small numbers of battles. You don't have to play 20 battles in order to start generating these stories. They're going to start cropping up very quickly. So that's what I'm working on. So I'm down here. I'm working on the injuries and deaths, and I'm just doing sort of quit point injuries and deaths. Like your leader died of your warband, so you'd be unlikely to want to keep playing with them, especially if it's a short tail. So you get one last chance to rescue your leader. And get them back so that you don't have to just quit and start over with a new warband. So I'm only doing like losses or wounds that are seriously, that will seriously make you sad. And I had this great idea. Well, I think it's a great idea, where certain injuries that are all downside. So a lot of one of the great things about Mordheim, right, is that you roll on the injuries table, and so many of these things are not only great stories, like soul to the pits or horrible scars, like that's the wound. The wound can not only generate story, but it's not all downside. It's not all negative. And that to me is just what makes this game so great. And I think it's great for any tabletop war game to consider bolting on some kind of rule like that. But some of the injuries here are all downside, and for those, I think I want something like this. So these are additional items that only are available to you once you've had one of those injuries. So it's not a huge bonus. It's not like it's not gonna these aren't gonna win you games all by themselves. But it's just kind of a neat, fun little thing. That's my plan anyway. That you got a leg wound, now your movement is reduced. There's no way in the game to increase your movement. So, but at least you can get a silver leg if you save up your gold and you get a really lucky rare roll. So there you have it. So that's what I'm working on. Is there a morale loss if you lose the leader? Kind of. There's a the way that the leader works is he has the leader ability, so he lets other people use his leadership for leadership tests to avoid routing and running away and stuff. But often the leader is either the most powerful or among the most powerful members of the warband. And the fact that you can't replace the leader is, I think, a good rule, actually, because it just would feel lame. It would feel meaningless if there wasn't some major consequence. But, on the other hand, I think it's a lot more interesting if you have one last shot to rescue your leader before he's really, really dead. All right, so what? So the chest wound lowers your toughness, which isn't like a huge nightmare, but it's not great. And it's annoying because it's all downside. By that argument, I could put Smashed Leg back up on here, but I just don't think Smashed Leg is severe enough. You know, it's like, can't run, okay, you know. Misses one game, alright. Maybe, but it's just not that big of a deal. Whereas permanent loss of toughness is pretty annoying. So it makes it easier to take wounds. It makes it easier for people to wound you. Is it possible to promote one of your warband teammates to a new leader? Yes. Automatically. One of your warband teammates with one of the heroes is automatically promoted to the new leader. However, you cannot purchase a new hero in place of the leader. He doesn't free up a slot. So it's like, oh, if it was like you had the leader and the shaman, and then the shaman had the next highest leadership, so he gets promoted to leader. You cannot, like, if you had 5 heroes, now you have 4 heroes if the leader dies, and you can't go back up, you can't buy a 5th. You can promote from the ranks potentially if you get lucky. You know, the henchmen can become heroes, but you can't replace that kind of character. And for some warbands, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. Like, you can't buy, you know, you can't get another assassin rat. You know, you can't get another vampire or whatever it is. And so that's like a big problem. So the Lost Leader, I think, is a great, fun, story-based way to kind of give you another chance to get your leader back. So that's what that's what the story campaign rules, which I think are applicable to any tabletop war game, are all about. Making losing more fun, giving the people, you know, in last place some opportunities, and interesting stuff. So what's the Adamant Heart going to do? So I think if you lower your toughness and it's more easy for people to deal you wounds, I think you would want access to an item that helps you with that somehow. So the Adamant Heart, maybe it gives you another wound. You have to take another wound before you die. I mean, that would make it really strong. That would make it really, really powerful. But maybe I'm okay with that. I mean, it is rare 12, and I'm going to make it expensive. That might be too strong. That might be too strong. Well, it could be an extra armor save, but it would have to be really, like, you're not going to want to do a rare 12 super expensive item for like a bad armor save. And if it's a good armor save, then it's going to feel too strong. I don't know that there's a good way of doing it with an armor save. More like a last fight item. You can lose the whole warband and then you're out. I don't understand that question. Ethan Hans. Maybe like a last fight item. Like, you get one more attack before you go down. That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay. So it seems it's not as good as a silver arm or a silver leg, but it's better than a sniper's eye patch. So we'll say rare 11, 45 GC, plus. And these things are incredibly expensive. It's kind of interesting. Maybe you have the chance to strike back and take your killer with you, set a higher roll on it, but then with a little damage bonus. Well, I mean, what if you are taken down by a ranged attack? I think it's weird with a ranged attack because somehow that doesn't seem... Does that seem right to you? Like, I was killed by a ranged attack, but I'm gonna take aim and fire before I die. Maybe if it's a gun and it's loaded, I mean, it's like so many complicated questions. So I might make it just a melee attack. Oh man, that would be really strong. Should it only work once per battle? Because it should work on knocked down and stunned results, right? Or does it only work for out of action? If it only works for out of action, it's not so powerful, and then we don't have to have that restriction. Because it will be only once per battle. Yeah, melee only, it's too powerful. I agree. Oh, let me load my shoulder cannon. Then I'll die. A throwing knife would make sense for mid-range, but melee only is fine. Yeah, you're right. A throwing knife would make sort of sense, but I think we'll leave it like this. That would be so complicated to try to explain. Well, not that complicated. But, there's not only throwing knives, just throwing axes, I don't like to make it too weapon specific, so I think close combat. That's cool. I wonder if they have something like that already. Seems like a really good idea. I don't remember where the items are. That's really good. We'll leave it like that, but that's really good. These are all really good, but they're super rare and super expensive. And that's kind of the story element. It's like, oh man, I got this terrible wound, but I have access to this really powerful item, which I didn't before. It's supposed to make you feel less bad. Kind of a consolation prize, but also I think a story element. All right. Do we want to do something for Old Battle Wound? The Old Battle Wound. Oh yeah. Venom from fighting if you roll a 1 or d6 at the start of any battle. Roll the start of each battle from now on. Oh, man. It's thematic, but jeez, that's brutal. Imagine if that was a really valuable warrior. Adamant Heart sounds more like chest armor. Well, it's a chest wound. I don't know. Seems alright to me. It's all made up anyhow. Alright. The warrior survives as a wound will prevent him from fighting if you roll a 1 or a d6 at the start of a battle. So, this will really suck because it's also going to reduce your gold intake as well as not having him in the fight. So, I think that the Old Battle Wound if the Old Battle Wound acts up, should it be an item? Nah, it's not specific enough. There's not enough to go on. I think that so this one, this is less of a campaign rule, more of a house rule. But I think that if the Old Battle Wound is acting up, then he should go off and like do something to get like a little bit of extra gold. A little bit of extra gold. That seems to make sense. After a battle where one of your warriors was, what was it? Prevent him from fighting. Prevented from fighting by a roll of 1 on an Old Battle Wound. You may declare they spent their time earning gold crowns. Your warrior. There's always a need for blade sharpeners, leather, boilers, armor, polishers, and the like in Mordheim. Your warrior spent his time doing odd jobs for other warbands and earned 1d6. Jeez. It's not that great, but you know. Seems reasonable. Yeah, gold crowns are the currency. Alright, nervous condition. Which I think is neat. Nervous system is damaged. His initiative is permanently reduced by 9+1. This is like the mildest thing. Like, your initiative, like, you know, it usually +1 or -1 it's just rarely that big of a deal because the initiative values are, you know, normally like, I mean, it could matter a lot if your guy is like initiative 3 and he's, you know, normally fights initiative 3 people or initiative 2 guys. I mean, like most people are initiative 3. There's a few initiative 4s and initiative 2s. And then L's are initiative 6. So it's like, it's not even going to make a difference. Still, I think if we've done this, we should do the same for the rest of them. So if you have a nervous condition, how can that help you out? Your initiative is permanently reduced by -1, I guess because your hands shake now that you've had this nasty injury. You're afraid to attack a little bit. You hesitate in combat. Is there an item that can do something with this? So it have to be a pretty mild effect. You're paying more attention? I mean, maybe. I mean, normally initiative would be the thing that you rolled to pay attention. The problem is that it covers so much. You know, some of the most powerful characters, like the goddamn lizards. Like, just like guys with like initiative 1 or initiative 0 on that team. And it just doesn't matter because they're so strong. I'm not sure that this needs any consolation prize. And I'm not really, nothing's springing to mind anyway. So I think we're going to cut that one. Oh, I put, for a hand injury, hidden finger blade. Hand injury gives you a -1 weapon skill. So of course, I made an Assassin's Creed reference. Alright, so what should it do? Right? It's a hidden finger blade, so it's like a surprise attack. So it only works once, right? The first time you make an attack with this weapon in a scenario. It's awesome. It gets I mean, it should have a it gets +1 strength. The hands shiver and they are less accurate. For the nervous condition, I mean, initiative doesn't really matter for ranged dudes except for climbing stuff. Like, initiative is like all physical activities that aren't fighting. And leadership is like all mental stuff. So, you know, nervous condition is vague. It's just not that big of a deal. It's like, yeah, that sucks. It would really suck to get a nervous condition, unlike if you have specialized a guy for striking first in combat. The nervous condition result would really suck for that dude. But hardly anyone does that because it's not really a smart move. Because you can miss, you can whiff that attack, and then what? You whiff that attack, and then you get hit back harder by someone who can have multiple nervous condition results. But he doesn't care because he's wearing heavy armor and wielding a set of nasty weapons, and you know. So it's just initiative. It's more important for some than for others, but I don't know. I nothing's coming to mind really, and I don't know. Ranged units, like something for like, it's like you're nervous but see, like what I'm doing is I'm taking these physical injuries and I'm like turning them into strengths, right? Advantages. I like the Fingerblade, huh? Like Assassin's Creed style. Is +1 strength good enough? I mean, it is a dagger. But daggers aren't that... they're not that terrible. And +1 strength will kind of negate the dagger's weakness, which is giving your opponent an armor save. Because if you have a decent strength. And you maybe roll the attack. Yeah, it's nice. Cheap, but rare. It seems reasonable. I mean, it's not that cheap. It's expensive for a weapon. But it's not like a magical, crazy nonsense like some of these. And it only works once. I think that's quite reasonable. Once per scenario. I think that's quite reasonable. I'm confident in that one. I don't know. Oh, thank you, Hans. Actually, I'm going to sign off too. So I'll come back and think about the deep wound and robbed results later. But thank you so much, Manthos Screen Name. Thank you, Ethan Hans. Thank you, anyone else who is hanging out and watching. I hope you've gotten some out of this, and I hope you've had some fun. I will see you later. I might come back on later tonight for more of this or possibly some map design. Good night until then, and have a good one. Bye-bye.